Now, let's talk a little bit about some recording levels. The kick and snare are definitely up near peaking, and they're not showing back. They're not showing up on playback, but on the way in, the kick and snare clipped a few times. It's okay as long as it sounds okay, and that's kind of common for like kick and snare things that have a lot of smack and punch and transient. For them to occasionally it's okay if you have a few overs as long as it doesn't sound bad. You kind of need that sound to get it to be impactful and full. That's just the reality of it. But you can see like things like the overheads and are not that hot. They're sort of a very moderate level to a low level. The bullet mic. Uh, the bullet mic um, is you can see how much compression it has on it, how beat up it is, because it doesn't have a really hot level, but the RMS, just the content of it is, because it's very mid-rangey and it's very compressed. It's like it's heavily limited the way that a final mix might look. It's very full and kind of smashed together. The hi-hat is a very low level, recorded level, because what shows up most significantly in a view like this are the transients, like where the kick and snare have a lot of peak information and then low frequency information. That's why the bullet has so much, the transients are being squashed a lot by the compression, and because it's also very mid-rangey, that really high frequency energy that creates a lot of the transients isn't there because the mic is mid-rangey and because it's been compressed quite a lot. So that's why you see, but it has a decent amount of low frequency in it. That's why you see so much. That's such a big block of cheese, if you will. And then the hi-hat, it does have a lot of transient quality to it, but it doesn't. But to record a hi-hat to where it's really audible, it's not a lot of level. It's a little bit deceiving because, like on a VU meter, almost a hi-hat won't even barely move a VU meter in a visible range and what you're used to, but it's definitely enough level. So these are just some kind of things to observe. What we have recorded here and what you're seeing is pretty much in the realm of what is acceptable good. There are no absolutes in this. There are 1,000 ways to get a good sound and put something together. This is observing our process, some opinions, some experience, but I think these things kind of hold true. You can see where the room mic, it has a very level wise or like content wise, it's similar to the bullet mic in that there's not a lot of dynamic range in the recording, but it's even kind of a lower level, and that's because it's a very ambient capture and there isn't a lot of direct impactful transients. It's very washy and not as impactful or close. It doesn't contain as much of that low impactful mid-range. And then the bass is a little bit on the hotter side. Graham is playing a very percussive, a very kind of aggressive attack on the notes. It's rock. It's not smooth the way jazz or something that had a thicker, lower, more sustained tone. This is like very punchy, and so the level is up. I think we peak of maybe around -3. That's probably as hot as I'd ever want to record a bass, and that has mostly to do with the transients. But as you can see, it's still pretty full, and that has to do with we have a good tone, has a lot of low frequency and good mid range, and we're compressing it pretty well. So you know, please observe that. It's okay if the kick and snare clip once in a while. You want that full, articulate, punchy sound out of those, and that's really the only way to get it. And as you can see, the way that our volumes are, the way we've balanced them, we've also got the kick and snare really loud, and then the other stuff. Even that this, where is the snare drum? What's the volume of the snare drum? I mean, excuse me, the hi-hat.
The hi-hat.
Okay, so we've got a very quiet looking recording of the hi-hat, and we've turned it down to -6. It might even be a little loud there. So, and then the overheads. Yeah, I mean, even some of these things, especially the hi-hat and the overheads that have a lot of high frequency content, they look like they have low recording levels, and we've also got them turned down. You know, these are things to be aware of, and make some observations and just kind of learn. You do not and should not record everything up to 0, really loud. Your gear won't sound good no matter what kind of gear you have. If you're pushing your gear to get everything up to like close to a 0 peak or RMS, you will have a really tough time with your recording. You'll end up with your mix faders like way quiet, and that's just to get it to balance and sound good. But if your recording is like that, then it's just not gonna be a great recording.